Okay guys, so as requested, I'm going to do a very quick run through and deck profile of my Metaphys deck. This is probably one of my favourite decks to run. It's got some really interesting effects and it's something that not a lot of people come across and so can kind of surprise people in tournaments. So first off is I run three of the big three monsters of this deck, and that is Metaphys, Daedalus and Tyrant Dragon. And so I run three of each of these. Metaphys, when it hits the field, summoned by a Metaphys monster, clears my opponent's back row. Daedalus, when it hits the field, summoned by a Metaphys monster, clears my opponent's and my special summoned monsters and banishes them. And Tyrant Dragon, when it hits the field, special summoned by a Metaphys monster, allows it to attack twice as long as it has attacked a monster first. So they're pretty good, they're pretty handy. Tyrant Dragon is the one that will summon as it returns to the deck from being banished. Daedalus will, when it returns to the deck, allow you to banish another Metaphys monster, and Metaphys, as it returns to the deck, allows you to put a Metaphys monster in your hand. So yeah, I run three each of those. To start the process rolling, I'd say one of the most useful cards in this deck is the Aloof Lupine. And again, I run three of these. Aloof Lupine allows you to banish a monster from your hand and then a monster of the same type from your deck. And so that's pretty good at starting off your Metaphys Tyrant Dragon combo. I've then got Ragnarok. Metaphys Ragnarok allows you to banish the top three cards of your deck. For every one of those monsters that is a Metaphys monster, it gains extra attack, and it also, if it deals battle damage to your opponent, allows you to special summon a Metaphys monster from your deck. And so getting out Daedalus or Tyrant Dragon, or if you need to clear back row, Metaphys, really nice and easily. Yeah, great little card. I do run one Decoy Dragon. That kind of allows me to shuffle things from field to banish zone and around about like that. I've got three Metaphys Dimensions. Metaphys Dimensions are great. They, every time a Metaphys monster or card is banished, it allows me to banish one of my opponent's monsters. So potentially I can banish three of my opponent's cards a turn. Metaphys Ascension allows me to discard a card and then banish a monster from my deck as well. So that's another way to get these banished roll started. Acid Metaphys is probably one of the harder cards to find in this deck, actually. It seems to be quite rare, although when you do find it, it's not desperately expensive. And that allows me to banish from my hand. So again, that's pretty useful. And certainly, Metaphys Dimension and Acid Metaphys are continuous spells, so they keep allowing me to do that every single turn. Metaphys Factor is the field spell. This allows me to normal summon a level 5 or higher Metaphys monster without tribute, so that can get some of these onto the field nice and quick, and then they are banished at the end of the next turn. So again, still rolling with that banish theme, and because I've got so many cards being banished in this deck, I've got 3 copies of Soul Absorption in here as well. If a card is banished, gain 500 life points for each. That can very, very quickly rack up your life points. I think the most I've got up to is about 20,000 life points in one duel with this deck. Run a Soul Release in case I start getting sticky, in case I end up with a lot of Metaphys monsters in the graveyard. I target up to 5 cards in any graveyard and banish them, and that can also start to take out graveyard-based decks that I'm against. I've got 2 Magical Mallets to try and make sure I get the cards that I actually want in my hand first turn, and I've got a Dimensional Fissure. Any monster sent to the graveyard is removed from play instead, so that's again going to keep banishing things for me. My hand traps that I use in this deck are 3 Ghost Ogres and 3 Effect Veilers as well. So yeah, they're fairly useful but fairly generic hand traps. I've then got this card, Inferno Tempest. When you take 3,000 or more battle damage from one attack, you can activate this card. Remove all monsters in each player's deck and graveyard from play. It's an old card. It's something that not a lot of people have come across. Really, really handy in this deck and can really start to mess people up because you just remove everything that they've got from play, and then hopefully you've got something in your hand that you can activate the Tyrant Dragon first to send to the field. You can then you can then Daedalus the Tyrant Dragon again. You can then Metaphys the Daedalus and just loop those round until you've got most of what you want out on your field, and your opponent has got nothing left in his deck and in his graveyard. Nemesis Keystone I find quite handy. I can target one of my banished monsters, so if I end up with a monster stuck banished, which can happen with this deck, I can target one of my banished monsters except Nemesis Keystone. I can special summon Nemesis Keystone, and if I do, I can shuffle that back into my deck, so that's pretty useful as well. I've then got the fusion monster, Trishula, the Icy Dragon of Imprisonment. 3 monsters with different names. You'll notice that I don't run a polymerization in this deck, and it's because I don't really need to. What the Trishula is for is it must either be fusion summoned using only monsters in your hand or field, or special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards you control. So if I've got 3 monsters with different names on the field, I can main phase 2, banish them, bring out Trishula, and then start that ball rolling again at the start of my opponent's turn, which, yeah, can be handy, can really start to mess him up, can put a real interrupt in there. I do have 3 Metaphys. I'm not quite sure why, because I don't believe that I run a tuner monster, unless Decoy Dragon could become a tuner. Oh, no, I have my effect Veiler as a tuner. Honestly, I've never actually put this on the field in gameplay. I've not really used it. And the rest of the extra deck for this is the Topologic set. We've got the effect with Topologic of actually banishing quite a few cards as well. So that's something that can be handy, but again, I've not actually really had much of a chance to get those active on the field with this deck. So guys, that is the deck profile for my Metaphys deck, sorry. It's a pretty fun deck, it's a pretty interesting deck to play. Maybe you guys could put it together and have a fiddle with it, see what you reckon. I'll see you guys in the next video.